called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me. All right, let's not do it.
I don't want to get in the middle. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good.
Well, that escalated quickly. So that was the ending of that debate. Everybody for the last 24 hours was trying to figure out what was that exchange between Warren and Sanders. Everybody was hiring professional lip readers. Apparently, we got the audio, so that made it even better. But more pressing news, folks. Put your seatbelt on. Nancy Pelosi took the pens, took the articles of impeachment, signed them, and sent them to the Senate. So after a whole, 6 weeks of deliberating as to who the manager's going to be, was the trial going to be fair, were they waiting for new evidence, Pelosi said, let's go. Let's go. We got a strong case. This president will be removed from office. Okay, well, that was that one, and we'll get to that momentarily as well. But in Iran, there's protests everywhere. Protests once again. Last week, it was because of General Qasem Soleimani, the assassination, quote unquote. But this week, people are protesting death to the Ayatollah, death to the regime. What's that about? Finally, are Democrats on the verge of losing the Latino vote? We have discussed this previously on MM Talk, but given the recent drop of Cory Booker and Julian Castro, which I bet you still don't know who he is. Yeah, that's becoming a more serious question. But thank you for tuning into your weekly broadcast of MM Talk. We're your host, Eddie Marmolejo.
And Jaime Moreno.
So, before we get into those topics, I want to address something that was brought up to Trevor Noah during the interview with Rick Wilson, who's promoting his new book about how he's fighting Trump. Mm-hmm. And during this interview, we'll put the clip below. He's calling Donald Trump a parasite for the Republican Party. He calls him a parasite. He says that the conservatives within the Republican Party are no longer there. And he's basically, and if you look through his profile, he's a big just Trump. He doesn't like Trump. He's a conservative. He's a Republican strategist. So he just doesn't like Trump. Fair enough.
He's a never-Trumper.
He's a never-Trumper because for 3 years, I can tell you, flat out, I consider myself a never-Trumper. Okay, I just didn't like his delivery. I didn't like the way he talked about things. But the more I listened and the more I actually read things as was, right? I started coming around to the point where I say, you know what, I'm in line with the president and I'll support him. But Rick Wilson said that he's a parasite, right? Mm-hmm. He has destroyed the Republican Party. He's not really a Republican. And I'm like, okay, so what is he? So I was like, how are you going to say those statements? He's the leader of the Republican Party. Is he too conservative? Is he too liberal? Is he too moderate? What about him? Is it that you don't like? So I went to Gallup, right, and I found this poll that compared President Trump to President Bush, right? The last two Republican presidents, right?
The most recent ones, yeah.
The most recent ones. And it says, quote, for the first time, Gallup asked Americans to characterize Trump's ideology, right? That's the big issue, okay? 39% say he's too conservative. 38% believe he's right. 17% he's too liberal.
Okay.
Opinions on Trump's ideology nearly duplicate those of previous Republican President George W. Bush, who in early 2004 was regarded too conservative by 39%, as about right by 36%, and too liberal by 18%.
So pretty much toe to toe.
Toe to toe. Yeah, and I'll capture the image and I'll put this poll. But if you just compare President Trump to President Bush, they're about the same. They're about the same. Honestly, okay, so too liberal, 17, 18. Ooh, 1%.
That's a big difference, right?
That's a radical difference. I mean, the man has destroyed the Republican Party.
Too liberal.
Yeah, about right. 36% George W. Bush to 38%. Yeah, that's a radical change. 2 percentage points. and two conservatives, dead even.
Yeah, they pretty are.
So, you know, the man, so a lot of criticism about George W. Bush was he wanted to expand the government's role, right? And all that. Those were big criticisms of President Bush. And of course, you go into the Iraq War and so forth.
That has to also do with the whole Patriot Act.
The Patriot Act,
Right.
and also
For
the expansion
national
of
security
national security
reasons,
purposes.
NSA
and all that.
spying.
But I'm like,
Which
so
Obama extended, by the way.
given that, and according to Gallup here, your whole argument just made no sense. If Donald Trump has really transformed the Republican Party as a whole, or conservatives as a whole, these numbers would be way
big, significant difference.
Significant difference. And by the way, this Gallup poll was from last year, so this is recent.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not something from like 2016 or something.
So could it be that this, what's his name, Mr. Wilson? Just doesn't like his style,
probably-
especially now that we've seen here on MM Talk,
Right.
and we've shown you the viewers that the MSM or mainstream media just over exaggerate things and leave certain facts, down below. Could it be that just because they make like every day there's a complaint about Trump?
Yeah,
and could it be that his style of leadership is probably what's he's embarrassed about, and not so much the policy aspect?
I don't think it's more embarrassing. I just think he doesn't approve of it, because I can speak because that was me. Like, so I was saying, I was like, I can never support you. I just don't like his style.
So let's go to you now, okay? As you as an example. So I remember during the 2016 election,
Yeah.
you
I don't know.
you were no Trump. I remember you were no Trump.
No.
We were both Marco Rubio
yeah,
supporters, which is the first Latino,
and we'll get to it.
major Latino in the national stage, right? But the MSN won't tell you that. Anyways, so we were Rubio. He resigns, quits the election, quits the race. Trump is the winner.
Yeah.
You didn't like Trump.
I still like Trump. And I was like, look.
Even after the fact that I told Eddie, I was like, dude, Trump's going to win the election.
Yeah, he did.
And everyone thought I was crazy. Like, you're stupid. He's not going to win.
I didn't call you stupid. I just called you crazy.
He called me stupid. He called me crazy. Other people call me stupid. I was like, no, because like we said here in the show, there's things he said in the campaign. Like I told a lot of people who personally know me, there's a lot of stuff he mentioned and touched on during his campaign that got him those votes, especially flipping blue states into red states. He did. Right? Yeah. So that happened, and he was just anti-Trump. So why were you so much anti-Trump? Why
honestly, look, it was his. Honestly, I believe it was his delivery, of the subject matter. I guess I was just too accustomed, like you said, optics. I'm just too accustomed to, like, delivering a message to the people in a correct, I guess politically correct, if you want to call it, right?
More civil demeanor.
More civil demeanor. And what got to me at the end and all that is that's what America was tired of at the time. The whole delivery, the whole delivering the truth in a nice way. And by doing so, that truth gets lost. Or it panders to only a certain amount of people. But like I said, it took me a while to accept it, okay? Because I'm like, it's Trump. You understand? The way he delivers, he just doesn't cut corners. He just delivers it as it is, and
he's raw, pretty much.
He's raw, and I was like, yeah, okay. Well, you're telling the truth, and the facts are there. I mean, I can't question this. I still, to this day, don't like the way he handled like Korea, he handled Syria and all that. But I get it. And between him and those who are running, I'll take him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
But it also, it just wasn't his campaign and the way the things he was doing as president. It's the other things too, how the left was coming about, what the left was bringing to the table, and how the president began fighting all that. And I'm like, that really is what captured me and that's when I threw my support for the president. The way he's fighting the radical left, fake news, all that. That was one of the major influences for this show. He said, we got to fight fake news. And who coined the term fake news? Giving the man his due. President Trump. So when you have
the press hates it, but
So when you have people like Rick Wilson, right, who states, well, he's destroyed the Republic. No, it's still there. The problem is you probably just don't like the delivery. You don't like the way he presents himself. And unfortunately, you know what? It's true to say that to make change, you have to be different. And he's just being different. And I had to get used to it. He was already used to it. And
I'm like, he's a 70-year-old man. I mean, you can't really change it, but 70-year-old man. So,
like I said, well, when you're like we study politics and we researched it and all that, you're accustomed to that, right? Now you're expecting that, and when you just, it was really the refusal to change. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I'm glad that I threw my support for the president, because now I'm seeing. Yeah, he's right. He's right. But Rick Wilson right here, he changed the entire Republican Party. No, he did not, because he would not be that close to the numbers of George W. Bush. Mm-hmm. Okay,
So it's not so much the policy making, it's so much the style to create policy, because we have to give the man credit. Yeah. I mean, even though he's really raw, he's really vulgar. People say he's divisive, but he pretty much calls it out.
Yeah,
and
he does.
He's been really, I mean, because of him, there's been a lot of interest in other things, right?
Yeah.
There's been interest in Baltimore. There's been interest in California.
Yeah.
There's been renewed research into the homelessness here in our own state. Yeah. There's been new research in this, and the way we do international diplomacy, the way we fight with dictators, and the way we play the game, in international politics, there's a game. There's a game between leaders of each country.
Right.
He's been brash about it.
Yeah.
We don't agree with a lot of the way he does it, his style, his tweets. Sometimes you're just like, really?
Too many tweets, bro. Like, cut it down. But I get.
Chillax. And there's a lot of factors. Like Eddie said, we studied politics. We went to school. We looked at the way the media is used, the way you message, the way the president reaches out to the public, and in a Trump era, right, which everyone thinks it's the worst era ever, and it's like the darkness,
the dark ages
of democracy in the United States. What we see with Trump's style is that, yes, he could tone it down a lot, but he's brought to the forefront and a lot of issues that people don't want to talk about.
Exactly.
Don't want to confront. Exactly. And just like we saw Warren and Sanders after the debate, she totally called him out. You calling me a liar? If it's true or not, that's, we don't know the facts, but the confrontation and a lot of the electorate, us, the voters, us who are common sense, working class Americans who just want to make it by, want to be able to retire, want to be able to have our kids go to school, want to be able to live a relaxed middle class life, are tired of all the BS by politicians and their talking points. Mm-hmm. So whether you like the guy or not, his style is pretty brash, but it has brought to light a lot of the issues.
Exactly.
And it has a lot of the issues that we discussed here.
But more important, just to summarize, it hasn't changed the party at all.
I don't think it has.
No, but that's the whole argument by Rick Wilson, that he has destroyed the Republican Party. The Republican Party's gone. And I'm like, bro, it's not that much different than when George W. Bush was president. It's just that the styles are different. But more pressing now. Articles of impeachment have been sent to the Senate. Boom. About time.
So, I don't understand anything. Uh-huh. These Democrats were like, President Trump is continuing clear and present danger. That's right, a clear and present danger to America, to our country, and he needs to be removed from office immediately.
And Bernie Sanders calls it the biggest threat to the history of a republic, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Benedict Arnold is like a footnote. But
I don't know. The Civil War was a footnote,
Yeah, Civil War was a footnote. I mean, who cares? But my question is now, okay, if it was so imminent, why did it take so long?
Well, I mean, you have to look. Was the case? So let's take it by points. Was the case strong? No,
I don't. No, here in Talk, we pretty
much. Well, here they are.
We said no.
We said no. So if you hear Schiff and Pelosi, they said, well, we have to find out if all the evidence was presented, and making sure nothing else is going to come up or stuff like that. You heard that, right?
Yeah. So before, I remember they saying, like, we have clear evidence. Schiff would go all over every talk show host, every news broadcast, and he would say, we have clear evidence that Trump is impeachable. He's corrupt. He cheated. He did pro quid pro. He's corrupt. Yeah. Clear present evidence. As the things dragged on, we kind of noticed that it wasn't a strong case.
And then, so the case wasn't strong. Second point, support. Once again, we're arguing in talk that either Americans didn't tune in, didn't care, or simply went away what the final result was.
The public opinion, right?
The public opinion. That never changed.
So we went from Russia collusion, excellent evidence of Russia collusion, right? And corruption.
Right.
Nothing happened.
Right.
We found out that there was some, questionable behavior, but nothing illegal.
Right.
And nothing happened.
Right.
And then they come with impeachment over this phone call. So, like we keep saying here in M&M Talk, we're all rational people. And we're pretty much, like we showed the poll numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Public support opinion for this
It's
is
like
pretty
39%. Yeah.
Down
So,
the drain.
support was gone. And, is it going to be a fair trial? How are we going to know it's fair? Can we pick our managers? What about witnesses? I'm like, are you seriously asking for a fair trial in the Senate? What happened to the inquiry? What happened to Republicans calling for witnesses and all that? But that was your excuses, right? And then Feinstein, right? Feinstein, just
our own senator here in California.
Senator Feinstein here in California, like just during this whole time period, was like, no, the longer this takes, the more it makes you guys look bad, right? And that's basically what she said.
She called out on her own party, and that's pretty good. We respect that from her.
So based on the support, on the pressure from her caucus to get this through, right, from the squad to anybody in her caucus, she pushed it through.
Senate Democrats, Republicans, even Trump is asking for them.
Yeah,
like, come on, hurry up, move it on.
I got a campaign to win. And so everybody's asking him, and then, today she finally did it. She announced her managers. And ladies and gentlemen, you know who's going to lead the endeavor from the Democrat side?
The heroic fight against the most corrupt president ever in American history.
Yeah, in the blue corner and leading the endeavor will be your own California representative, Adam Schiff.
Ding, 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 ding.
So, Adam Schiff, the guy who read the fake memo. That guy, the guy who set up the rules behind closed doors, that guy who kept saying during the inquiry, the gentleman's time has expired, the gentleman's time has expired, the gentlewoman's time, wouldn't even allow Republicans to ask questions. That guy, that guy's leading. And according to Pelosi, it's because he's had the most experience in this impeachment and also during the Mueller investigation and all that. And behind him, of course, will be Nadler.
Colonel Nadler.
Is he a colonel? Is he real?
No, I'm just saying that because they're leading the charge, right? They're considered like the pious six who will lead America to redemption, right? The heroes of America.
Yeah, the guy in '98 who said that all impeachment should not be should be partisan. Even though no Republican voted for support of impeachment, but hey, whatever. So Nadler, and then in the far corner, you saw your own also California Congresswoman. You know what I'm talking about?
Who, Eddie?
Maxine Waters. Impeach 45. Impeach 45. The one who said, if you ever see people that work for Donald Trump in some diner or something, don't let them sit there. Tell them they're not welcome.
Kick them out of restaurants.
Kick them out of restaurants.
Pretty much persecute them for the political opinions. Not saying that we're quoting any Nazi style tactics or communism tactics back in the Soviet Union, but since they're justice warriors, we'll justify that behavior.
So those will be those are the people that are there. But Nadler and Schiff will be the ones leading this endeavor. There were other people. I don't remember all their names.
So pretty much the people who will be prosecuting the president are from the most liberal states in the country. And not only that, they're representing each congressman pretty much is in a solid blue state district, right? So it pretty much plays safe for them to keep their seats in Congress coming up the election while they try the president. It's also a good tactic. And Nancy Pelosi tried to use a diversity tactic of minorities. We have a Hispanic woman, Congresswoman, we congratulate for her being on that prosecutor or that manager role. We have 2 black congressmen. We have, not diverse, but, let's be honest, it's a diverse group. But are they going to be impartial, or are they going to try to,
That's kind of a rhetorical question. This was the same group that didn't allow any witnesses. That's what this whole thing is funny.
Yeah, the ones who dominated the chairs.
For 4 weeks, you have
limited cross.
No, you have the majority in the House of Representatives. Well, we need to find the right litigators. We need to find the right managers. And you come up with the people that set the rules, did not allow for cross-examination. The same people whatever.
Yeah, like you're complaining about the Senate setting up the rules without any input from Democrats, but you did the same thing in the House by setting up the rules with no input by Republicans. So it's like you're trying to. What are you trying to do? I don't even understand. Like. You're complaining for the same thing you did in the House, but you're trying to put light on Republicans. Yeah, good public PR tactic.
Yeah. So and then
we hear voters are not that dumb. We're actually pretty smart when it comes to trials.
And the media ass shift, like, okay, so now you have the managers, like, what did it take so long? It's like, well, we want this to be fair because if it goes to the Senate and it's not fair, it's going to be a sham. Okay, so if that's a sham, what do you call the inquiry?
Exactly.
Because I didn't see no fairness there. I saw...
Even the media coverage of it. I mean, the media coverage said, bombshell, right? He said this person witnessed the corruption. And then that same person who, quote unquote, witnessed the corruption, when they're cross-examined by the Republicans for the validity of their testimony, they back out. They're like, they question even their own memory about the events. So it's like, why didn't the media show that part of the discussion? So let's just stay tuned on that because according to McConnell, they want to start this by next Tuesday. Okay, he's after the articles of impeachment were delivered to the Secretary of the Senate. McConnell came out and started setting up the rules. Hey, call the the Chief Justice. After the Chief Justice call, make sure he's escorted to the building, and then we're going to notify the White House. Make sure they have time to get their counsel together, and then by Tuesday we should start. So that's the timeline that McConnell set up for the impeachment trial. So stay tuned. We will be following up on what's going on in impeachments, and next week we'll keep you updated on that. But before we move on to the next topic, we want you guys to not leave your political sides away, right?
Yeah.
You're a Democrat or Republican, right? Let's all put that aside. Let's look at this as we're watching a crime documentary, or we're looking at a trial of a crime,
Netflix special,
a true special, an A&E, special, where we're pretty much trying to figure out what the evidence is, whether or not to convict a person. And I know a lot of Americans like to watch those shows. The numbers show it. So let's watch this impeachment trial in the same fashion. What is the evidence against the president, and what is his defense? Does it make sense from the prosecutor? Does it make sense from the defense? All politics aside, let's all be politics aside, and let's all be Americans. Let's look at pretty much an impeachment of the century.
No, let's be impartial.
Let's be impartial. And there's things we're gonna call out things that they have a point. The Democrats have a point, and we'll call out when Republicans have a point, like we've done here in MM Talk in the past. So you as viewers, please, when we give you these updates, don't think that we're just gonna blindly defend the president. We're going to bring you the facts that you yourselves can even verify. Yeah. You yourselves can research. We have a ton of information and resources in the internet, not just on Wikipedia, but articles, videos, documentaries. Like, you can literally get the sources. So to help you navigate through this impeachment, we will be as fair and unbiased. And just like you, we will be impartial on this matter. Yeah. It is a rule of law because things like this can one day we can be, not that we're president, but we can end up in a, how do I say this? People who advocate for criminal justice reform have noticed that there's been some skewed evidence against defendants in the past, which they have incarcerated stuff. But that's a whole different issue. But I'm not saying the president's innocent. But if that can happen to regular people, it can happen to the president of the United States too.
Yeah. So
it's in our best interest to be fair.
Yeah, and also for those that support the president, also stay impartial, okay? Don't go in there with the mentality, well, Trump's been right all along, 90%, 99%. No. Like Jaime just pointed out. Go in there impartially. Look at the evidence at hand. And if he's found guilty, right, then you have to accept it. He is found guilty and he will be removed from office. And if he's not found guilty, then you can begin your trolling of all the Democrats you want and all that. But, like I said, go in there with him. Because I want you viewers to understand an impeachment trial as a process. Mm-hmm. Right? How does the process work? And was this process just? Okay? I know it's hard giving the lies from the mainstream media. I know it's all hard.
It's a lot of bias.
It's a lot of bias. I mean, 85% of the media registers as Democrat.
Literally registered as Democrats.
But you have to be he represents your voice, right? Trump represents your voice. So you're like, okay, you're representing me, and you're being accused of this. Where's the evidence? There's no evidence? Okay, acquitted. Is there evidence? Uh-oh. Then, yeah, you violated my trust as an American citizen. I will ask you to be removed from office. So you have to take both considerations, okay? We know where the score is right now, right? As we reviewed the trial, the inquiries, and all that. Still go in there with an open mind, listen to the arguments. We'll, here in MM Talk, we'll destroy any bad arguments. We'll destroy any bad presentations. Misguided presentations.
Because it's already starting, pretty much.
It's already starting, yeah. And we'll also hold accountable things that, have to be held accountable. So going in with an open mind and all that. But stay tuned. That's definitely going to be touched on next week's episode, because by the time we record, it's already going to happen.
But hey, keep updated with us. Thank you for joining us and trusting us to give you an analysis of what really is going on, despite all the hype, right?
Yeah.
So now that we'll wait as the impeachment process comes and the rules, what can we say about Iran?
So Iran, yeah.
So the media was going in a binge, not a binge, in a craze.
Yeah, we were going to World War III.
World War III, right?
Yeah,
and now it's just
we already talked about Iran. Tune into our last 2 episodes if you have not heard about our analysis of Iran. What are we seeing in the foreseeable future as far as relations or potential conflicts with Iran? Tune into those episodes. We'll put the links below if you haven't tuned into those episodes yet. But I want to take a spin on this as to what the media coverage was as to the death of Soleimani, to what we've seen in the last 72 hours in Iran, or the reports that are coming out in Iran.
In the past 2 days.
Yeah. So last week, everybody was in mourning, right? You had MSNBC talking about how dare we kill this great leader of Iran, and I mean, look at the people that are in mourning. It's intolerable.
The U.S. violated.
Yeah, the U.S. violated.
We started World War III.
We started World War III and so forth, right?
Doomsday.
Yeah, and then I'm looking at like it's just no way, because I dropped stuff here.
It's okay.
Because the conflicting reports started coming out. I started hearing people saying, "Don't buy into that. Don't buy in." There was a viral video that went out. This lady in Iran, Iranian American, right? She's like, "How are Americans buying into this?" Like, you gotta understand that people in Iran are forced to do so, right? And
what do you mean? Are forced to do so?
Forced to go out there and show. What's it called?
So just a little social studies, not social studies, like social studies. Iran is literally a dictatorship.
Yeah.
A religious dictatorship
yeah.
under the control of a religious leader called the supreme leader
yeah.
who controls pretty much everything in Iran.
Yeah.
Okay? It's been like that since 79.
Right.
Okay? Now, like we've always said in like tyrannical and communism and in history and all that stuff,
right.
The government controls the media.
Yeah.
The government controls TV, the radio. There's no free speech. It's what the state and the government says, and that's the way it is. Which is kind of creeping up right here in the United States, but whatever. Now, these Iranians come out in mourning. Now the debate is, did they really come out in sincere mourning? Or were they made to go out by their own government to avoid being imprisoned or harmed or jailed or fined by their own repressive regime?
Right.
And with that question comes up, because as Eddie's going to go right now in details, is now that the protest shifted, quote unquote, from mourning the general, right, who the international community has regarded as a dangerous man, to a protest against its own supreme leader in Iran, right? That they've actually literally just tore down pictures of the general they were mourning 3 days ago. Right? And people have defected Iran and pointing out that the regime in Iran is repressive. They shut down internet. They hate free speech and so on and so forth. So, did they really come out in mourning in sincerity? That's the question. Right. We're not denying that they mourned, but was it sincere? Was it actually like, they really mourned, or were they forced by their own government to come out? In light of what's going on with people protesting their own government. So, Eddie, how did this shift happen? What caused the shift in protest against death to America to now protesting death to the supreme leader of Iran?
So what people need to find out too is that the protest has always been there. It's just that, like you said, state media controlled. Wi-Fi control, whatever you want to call it. It's so
Internet control, right?
yeah, it's so like construed and so
They suppress a lot of
suppressive
dissent.
that you really don't hear it. But with the revelations of Soleimani, right, and more media coverage of the area, you come to find out that, well, there's a divide between those who support Soleimani and the government and those that don't. Okay,
So divide between pro-government Iranians versus reform Iranians, right? Okay.
So, like right here, there's an article in the Washington Post. Literally states, "Don't believe Iranian propaganda about the morning of Soleimani."
Wait, can you repeat that again?
Don't believe Iranian propaganda about the morning of Soleimani.
One more time.
Don't believe Iranian propaganda about the morning of Soleimani. Washington Post.
Wow, that's a big in-your-face statement.
But here's what I'm talking about, how protests have continued, right? The article points out, quote, "This past November, thousands of Iranians took to the streets across the country to protest against the regime and the biggest challenge to the clerical rule in 40 years," right? And it talks about how Khomeini sent troops and trying to quell that down, okay? So the protest has been there. So what escalated? Soleimani brings that, but what else happened a couple days ago? There was a shooting of a Ukrainian jet that in that jet were Iranian students, passengers, right? And then the regime, through state media, posted the claim that there was a malfunction on the plane, and that's why the plane crashed. There was another caveat in that statement, and finding out the truth about that there were Canadian passengers also on board. So Prime Minister Trudeau, through a press conference, reveals intelligence that states, and this was also upheld by U.S. intelligence, that actually the plane was shut down by Iranian forces.
So wait a minute. So originally, when we found about the destruction of this passenger plane, is that the United States caused this to happen, right?
No, well,
because of the tensions of World War III.
Yeah, so that was the Democrats. The Democrats' argument that President Trump somehow was responsible for the shooting down at this jet because it could have been a spy plane. That was, and I forget her name.
So they justified the shooting of the. Okay, so the shooting was not directly related to Trump, but pretty much said that Trump
he's responsible
for what he just started, right?
Sure, connect the dots down because that makes no sense to begin with. But
and then what does the Iranian government say about that plane?
So the Iranian government states that it was an accident. That was a malfunction in the plane, and that's what the plane crashed. Now, with the reveal of intelligence by the Canadians and so forth, and then by U.S. intelligence saying that, no, you actually shut down the plane, protest went wild in Iran. I mean, I'm talking...
okay. Yeah. So the government lied about the accident.
Exactly.
Which also had about a large percentage of Iranians, right?
Yeah.
Leaving.
So they had Iranians, Ukrainians, and Canadians, and anybody else.
So that plane was shot down by Iranian missiles.
Yes. Missile.
Sorry. Because I've seen some videos where they show like 2 or 3 missiles.
Yeah, but that was when they were attacking the compound in Iraq. Remember that?
Maybe that's a different video. Look it up because the video literally shows like boom, boom, up in the air. Yeah. And then boom, boom, up in the air again. And then you see...
okay. Well, the one I've seen, I heard it was a missile, but I could be wrong too. But
So that's not the point here. You can look it up, research it yourselves. Clarify for us. It's clarify. You can research it.
It was 1 or 2 missiles, whatever. The point is, it was shut down.
The point is that the own Iranian government lied about it.
Yes.
Then they confessed after international community said, "No, you actually knocked it down, sir."
Yeah, because they also came in and apologized.
So now the protest supposedly is not really about. The protest has turned against the supreme leader of Iran because of that accident, quote unquote.
Quote unquote. Yeah, but like I said, there's always been dissent, but it is now it's been exacerbated by the line of the regime of killing its own citizens.
So you're saying that there's always been protests against the government in Iran?
Yes, it just hasn't been. I just told you there was a protest last year. Then I didn't even hear about it really. You didn't even hear about it really, and there was like either detention or
I get you.
the removal of 1,500 people. You can interpret removal any way you want.
So you're pretty much saying that people have been protesting their own government for years now, right?
Yes, I mean,
and the media in America hasn't really touched base on it. Rarely talks about it. Now that this came around, they're trying to defend the regime of Iran. But then the truth comes out saying, no, sir, actually the people want to take down the regime.
Exactly. And
you're defending this dictator, oppressive regime. Right? 'Cause now the Democrats are defending a dictatorship. I mean, that's not a surprise. I mean, they defended.
Yeah, so
they defended freaking Castro and
yeah, but
Chavez.
what I'm trying to get to is that the media coverage from our side has been defending Soleimani since last week.
Gotcha.
People in Iran, right, and according to this article, quote, there are many Iranian voices who think Soleimani was a war criminal, but Western journalists rarely reach out to them. Ironically, the Western media is more skeptical of state-organized events in other countries such as Russia and North Korea, but seem to leave out the critical sense that border when it comes to the Islamic Republic. While it's true that Western correspondents face daunting conditions when it comes to reporting the truth from Iran, that shouldn't excuse many times they've shown unwarranted gullibility towards the official version of events. So the media knows Soleimani's been involved in Iraq. The media knows Soleimani's been involved in Syria. The media knows that Soleimani has been attacking U.S. soldiers, sponsoring terror attacks. The media knows that Iran wants to build nuclear weapons. They also know they have the ability to sell to the highest bidder once they build this weapon because they're the number one state sponsor of terrorism. But since Donald Trump ordered an attack on Soleimani, then the whole specter changes. Soleimani is a war hero. He was respected by his people. How dare he? President Trump. How dare you? Yeah, how dare you? President Trump violated the War Powers Act. I mean, we need to conduct a resolution to limit his powers. And they're pointing that that's not the case. Look, you want an example how even journalists in Iran are basically quitting over this, okay? This is an article in the New Yorker called "The Anger and the Anguish Fueling Iran's Protest." I'm gonna butcher this name. I'm giving you a heads up. Jalal Jabari, and like I said, I'm not laughing. It's just the way he butchered it. It's funny. Sound it out, sir. Sound it out. Spit it out. Right. The host of a popular program on state-controlled television issued a public apology on her Instagram page for propagating the regime's original claim that Ukrainian plane had a mechanical malfunction and other lies. It was very hard for me to believe the murdering of my own countrymen. Forgive me for believing it too late. I apologize for lying to you on television for 13 years.
How many years has you been lying to those people?
Okay,
this is state media.
State media. After her comment was picked up by international media, the post was deleted. A union of journalists in the capital also apologized and appealed to other national media not to aid the government's cover-up. MSNBC, CNN, and that one congresswoman, I still cannot remember her name, who said that an impeached president created the tensions that we see with the level of Iran. Never mind, they've been in a state of war with Iran for 40 years, but okay. We are currently holding a funeral service for public trust. The first conference are for state broadcast company and all media and websites. So she quits over this, right? And we're meant to believe, according to say that Soleimani was great and Iranians actually conducted an accident.
Really? Right. From a dictatorship, telling that they're the good guys. A dictatorship.
Yeah. So
right.
So in Iran, oh man, it's just unbelievable how we.
So now so pretty much what these articles are saying is that the media in the West are lying to the masses. No, literally lying.
Yeah. Western journalists
about how good this person is, when in reality,
no, it's not just that. It's not just Soleimani. It's the regime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's the Soleimani, because it was all in defense of Soleimani and in defense of the country of Iran, right? And these articles that you just read pretty much clearly said you're lying to the public.
Yeah,
you're lying to the public.
And New Yorker.
Why? Because even though they don't say it,
right,
they're inferring just because you don't like the guy in the White House doesn't give you the right to lie to the public. Mm-hmm. And that's what here in Talk we do a lot. Hey, dude, don't be fooled. let's all use our thinking caps, right? Like you used to say in school. And like, let's really think about this and really look into what's really going on and go beyond the BS.
Right.
And these articles are pretty much telling you, not only articles from respected news organizations, but people who are in Iran saying, you know what? This regime is terrible. Don't believe the lies. Don't believe the propaganda. It's all propaganda. It's all just hype for them to, feel justified for their crimes and abuses of human rights and abuses of power. It's just a way for them to defend themselves. And instead of calling them out for what they are, the media in the West is pretty much praising this repressive regime that has been repressive for the past 40 years.
Yeah.
And I'm done with that.
There was
You're the expert on the foreign policy.
No. There was I forget this guy's name. I'm trying to find it right now. But there was a report in MSNBC. And the show's called The Last Word, and they had this guest on. I am not kidding. This is what was said. And once I find out, I'll post it. But
We'll post a link for you.
We'll post a link for you. And he
Verify
said,
for yourself.
they asked him, well, was this right? It's like, yeah, we knew Soleimani was a bad guy. And
Rice.
Yeah. What, Rice? No, that's not Rice. No,
Okay,
I'm
never
getting
mind.
to Susan Rice in a
Okay,
second.
sorry. Susan Rice.
Yeah, so let me show you how the narrative's changed. Yeah, we know he was a bad guy. The problem is we just had the wrong commander-in-chief.
Wasn't that Obama's guy?
No, I forget his name. He's a strategist, and I can't figure it
Was that a
out.
Democrat strategist?
He's a Democrat strategist, and it's bothering
So
me.
pretty much, he's saying that, yeah, he didn't do bad, but we just don't like the guy who did it.
Exactly, pretty much. I have his face right here. Hold on. Let me see if I can. It was on Lawrence O'Donnell's show. The Last Word were Lawrence O'Donnell, and they don't have his name here.
So, if you guys really pay attention to what these pundits are saying, you can catch their lies in between all their rhetoric and fear-mongering and hyper, yellow journalism, as we would like to say in academia, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, really, you just literally said that he didn't really do bad, but we just didn't like the guy who did it, right? It's kind of like, yeah, we're just complaining not because you killed the guy, but because you did it, instead of letting us, the Democrats, show that we have the power to do it.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure I'll find the guy's name later, but he said that. And then
A Democrat strategist.
I think I also heard, I keep hearing over several reports too, and I haven't heard this on Univision. They had in Al Punto, right? My favorite show with Jorge Ramos. They had a senator on there, and you're gonna hear this over and over again. It's just that President Obama also had an opportunity to take out this guy, but we just waited the ends and the means, and the ends didn't justify the means. Blah, 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 blah. But that's not what Susan Rice said, former National Security Advisor Barack Obama.
Susan Rice.
What did Susan Rice say? Susan Rice, right, was on, I believe, was it MSNBC too? Let me see real quick.
So, Susan Rice, if you guys don't understand who this, or don't remember, right, because, we have short-term memory sometimes. Susan Rice was a national security advisor for President Obama. Mm-hmm. She was also the UN representative during the Obama administration.
Right.
And she has enough intelligence clearance as the top officials, and the Trump administration to know what's going on. She literally says we've been tracking this guy for years.
Okay, so what did she say?
What are the exact words? Yeah, play it.
What can you tell us in a non-classified setting here about that reporting, whether it's accurate, and is there any reason that we should think that calculation somehow changed before this airstrike?
Well, to my knowledge, Rachel, and certainly while I was National Security Advisor, the Obama administration was not presented with an opportunity by our intelligence community or by the U.S. military to strike Qasem Soleimani.
So the assumption is if you had the intelligence you would kill Qasem Soleimani.
Okay, what else did she say?
Well, that was it. That's the movie.
Oh, they didn't have opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So they have opportunity.
So they were presented with the option because they didn't have the opportunity to actually do it.
But
got it.
That's funny. So again, the way I'm going to is how it's being portrayed. But wrong commander in chief versus so had Obama done it, that would have been okay. So is also the media saying had Trump gone after Osama bin Laden, that would have been bad too, because Trump violated Pakistani airspace. He did not inform an ally. He conducted an incursion, which would have been a declaration of war, which it is, by the way.
Literally, it is.
But yeah, that was the right commander in chief. Imminent threat, sponsoring terrorists, taking them out by President Trump. Oh man, that's a war crime.
Get him. Really, guys?
President Obama bombs Libya. Okay? What does Nancy Pelosi say? Oh, he don't need no congressional approval.
Right.
Destabilizes Libya. And Chris Wallace asks him right towards the end of his presidency, what was your biggest regret? Not following up the next day on Libya. So you destabilize Libya. You leave Libya in shambles. You destabilize Syria because you're bombing everybody, but you don't need congressional approval. Donald Trump,
The same people who say Trump needs approval
said
that he didn't.
Donald Trump takes out an imminent threat, intelligence after intelligence after intelligence, after it tells you there's imminent threat by Soleimani, and he needs a war powers resolution.
But Obama didn't need it though. He's a cool guy. He's cool.
Man.
He's a smooth politician.
Anyway, so that's Iran, and that's what I'm trying to get to reviews is
The double standards.
the double standards that you're seeing. So, the debate, man. The debate.
So that concludes our analysis. Our follow-up on Iran. I know we've been talking about it a lot. It's in the headlines. Like we said, here in MM Talk, we just want for you guys to know the real truth, the facts of what's really going on, for we can be more informed voters, for we can vote people in power that will actually create solutions to many of our problems. Instead of just talking about it, actually doing something about it. Yeah. So, as we wrap it up, I think we would touch base on Democrats and Latinos.
Yeah, so it's all tied because I want to get to the debate. So the debate part was funny, Sanders and all that, and the whole between Sanders, the exchange, how, well, do you like women and all that, and should women be president, and basically CNN's kind of, but they asked Pete Buttigieg, right? Why don't black voters like him?
You don't have support of black voters. You don't.
You don't have support of black voters.
And then the person, the moderator literally said, you need them to win the presidential election, bro. You need the black votes, bro. Why don't you have it, bro? And Buttigieg was like,
well,
and my non-racist, but really racist response, he said, what, Eddie?
He said, well, the black people that know me in Iowa and where I'm at, Indiana, where he's from, they actually support me. And
so, translation, I got black friends. I'm not racist. I got black friends. I got one black friend, two black friends. I'm not racist.
Oh man, it basically exactly that's what he said. Like, well, I got black friends.
If a Republican would say that would be the most racist comment ever in the history of history. But Pete Buttigieg literally said, "Oh, the people who I know personally and who are in my city and around my, the area of where I'm mayor at,
right?
They vote for me. They support me. So in other words, I got black friends. I got 2-3 black friends. I'm not racist."
Oh man, no, that was.
So go ahead.
So yeah, I'm trying to get to it. So give me a second here. There's CNN, their commercials, but yeah, people just basically gave the "I have the black friend" card.
That makes me not racist.
Yeah, not at all.
Right, that's the most racist response to that.
Here we go.
You say you've had trouble earning the support of black voters because you're unknown. But you've been campaigning for a year now, and polling shows you with next to no black support that you'll need in order to beat Donald Trump. Is it possible that black voters have gotten to know you and have simply decided to choose another candidate?
The black voters who know me best.
Hold on, stop right there. Stop right there. That is the truth we here at MMT talking about.
Say it over and over and over again.
It doesn't matter if you're black, Latino, 1/1000th of an Indian,
right,
or what's Kamala Harris?
Jamaican and Indian.
She's
a Rasta man.
That in itself does not guarantee electoral or electability.
Yeah.
Let's get that straight, people. She literally said, "Hey, you've been campaigning for a year. People know you by now. I mean, you're a top contender.
Right.
I mean, they can't who's that guy? No, you're a top contender, so they know you. But they just don't like you, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, they just don't like you.
So let's hear a response real quick.
It's why I have the most support in South Bend. It's why among elected black officials in my community who have gotten into this race, by far most of them are supporting me. And now, nationally, I am proud that my camp...
Most of the people in my own city are supporting me.
So let's keep in mind.
He's doing way better than Julian Castro.
Who is Julian Castro?
Who is Julian Castro? Who's this guy? Who's this fool?
So, anyways, the
He's
point
doing way
is.
better than Julian Castro.
So the point is, right? It's an all-white cast, and the moderator, who happens to be African American, is like, dude, look at it. Black people don't like you, man. You don't have 2% of black people. You need them to win. What's going on?
Nothing. She really said nothing to support.
And that's part. That's a really good important thing of the debate, because it brings up to the final topic, right? Which is what I say: are Democrats losing Latinos, and why are they sending overtures to the Republican side?
And are they living up to their propaganda that they are the most diverse party ever?
Yeah. So, Jaime, walk us through it.
All right. So, an article came out. First of all, it says Booker drops out of presidential race, right? This article by, who published it? Yahoo News, right? Pretty much highlights how Cory Booker was this perfect candidate, good debater, good person to talk about. I mean, if you guys could look back at our previous podcast, we talked about Booker and how people feel about him. We concluded that majority of people who went to Cory Booker rallies weren't really thinking about voting for him. They were thinking about what they're having for lunch or what they're going to eat after the rally. So it's like, yeah. So Booker drops out of the race, which makes the contenders of the Democratic Party all white. Political calls it the most whitest yet. Okay? So it's more white than Republicans. Like it's white. And people are mad about it. Cory Booker couldn't make it out of the polls. Kamala Harris didn't make it. I mean, we called it out. We're like, Kamala Harris ain't going to get no presidency. When she announced, we're like, no.
But we predicted that she would run, and then we predicted she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, so we were good on our predictions there. So you want to bet on the election 2020? Let's start bidding. I'm just kidding. Anyways.
20 on Trump.
20 on Trump. Got it. Cory Booker. Kamala Harris. Julian Castro. Who is Julian Castro?
Who's Julian Castro? I still don't know who that guy is. If you don't know who Julian Castro is, tune into our episode where we talk about Julian Castro. What's it called? The first major Latino candidate.
The first major Latino candidate to run for president?
Yeah, according to, what's her name here? What's her name? Hold on, her name.
Over this ignorant reporter?
Brittany Shepard and Andrew Romano, who wrote this article, called Julian Castro the first major Latino candidate, but okay, sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, Ted Cruz is not Latino, and Marco Rubio is not Latino. Yeah, who cares about them? Right. Anyways, so going back to this article. So they're saying the race card. Did the race card play a factor? Could the race card damaged or helped these campaigns? In summary, they said no.
Actually said yes.
Actually, they said race was an issue, but not the issue that they were racist against these black people.
Oh, it's complicated.
It's complicated. Okay, they call it complicated issue of race in America, especially among Democrats, the most diverse party ever, right? They're the diversity party, the champions of diversity, but yet they can't get minorities up to the runners up.
Right.
So, what the article concludes then is that actually race was more damaging than helpful. Why? Because here in MM Talk, we said that they're only focused on race, identity, politics.
Yep.
And Americans are tired of race, identity, politics. Because everyone, black, white, brown, Asian, Samoan, European, Eastern European, Russian, Indian, Sri Lankan, Australian, wherever you come from, right? Whether it be through ancestry or whether it be direct immigrant, we're all affected by the same policies.
Yeah, and it's actually a really
and
good
pandering
sense
to just race as the reason why you should vote for me because I'm a minority,
right,
was more damaging And not only was it more damaging, they couldn't produce any solutions to problems. They couldn't, even in debate. I mean, Kamala Harris talked about her upbringing and how she had to face racism. Who cares? What are you going to do to help the community? What are you going to do to help the country? Cory Booker going up to like, oh, everyone's racist.
Well, yeah, her solution was to end racism.
Yeah, to end racism.
And sexism.
Oh, yeah, and sexism. I mean, yeah, we're working on that, right? We're working on that. But I think we're more of a understanding community without the MSM dividing us, right?
Yeah.
So, what else does it say?
Yeah, so...
what happened in 2008, dude? What happened?
Oh, yeah, so it's getting there, and it's like... I just want to go back to read what you were talking about.
It's a sob story. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So, it's
a good
frustrating.
a good sentence this article has is, the more fundamental problem was that representation wasn't enough. It never is. Voters of color are sick of being used as props, that they tend to respond regardless of race to candidates who show up and early, often tailoring their campaigns to the community's specific needs.
Specific needs.
Exactly. So
we here in Emin Talk said what? Latinos aren't a single issue voters.
Right.
Go back to our whole immigration podcast and those topics. We said Latinos aren't just concerned about immigration.
But
that's one of like the top 5, the 5th in the list. Yeah. They worry more about work, retirement, schooling.
Yeah,
goodness sake.
Yeah, I mean, but and it's funny how this article points out. Well, they had an uphill. They had enough representation. The rules didn't help. And I'm like, first of all, and this is what I was going to get to right now. What Jaime said. Who won the nomination for the Democratic Party in 2007, 2008?
Using the same rules.
Using the same rules.
The same guidelines. The same prerequisites.
Everything that these people are
complaining
about. I mean, and it was in office for 8 years. Anybody want to tell me the race of that president? Black.
Duh.
So, and it's funny, and the article goes into how the reason why Barack Obama's campaign was successful, two things, right? He won Iowa, and that propelled him to be a contender,
to be taken serious,
to be taken as a serious contender. He won Iowa.
Okay. History. Before we had Reverend, what's his name? Reverend Jackson.
Well, I don't know. Dude.
The guy, the skinny guy who looked like a bobblehead.
Dude,
anyways, there's been black contenders to the presidency in the past.
Yeah, Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton was one of them. There you go. That's his name. Reverend Al Sharpton. He ran for president in the 90s or something,
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't make it. No one took him serious. Well, and also because he had a lot of controversy behind his name.
Oh, yeah,
and we discussed it here in MM too.
Yeah.
Okay? Obama came. He beat the same odds. Like Eddie said, he won Iowa. The whitest of the whitest, according to Democrats, the whitest of the whitest states. And they don't like minorities. Oh, they're already calling their own Democratic voters racist.
Yeah.
Like the insanity. And I know you guys are seeing this and understanding this. Whether you admit it or not, you're watching it, you're like, dude, you're literally calling your own people who you so proudly say that you're diverse, racist.
Yeah, so Obama wins Iowa, lost to win the nomination, beats Hillary, a woman. So Hillary was the runner-up, using the same rules, right? Using the same rules and all that, won the states and so forth, became Secretary of State, runs again, gets the nomination using the same rules,
and she be the first woman to run for president.
Women in this particular race, stating Kamala Harris. There's a sexism problem, electability. There's a racial problem within the Democratic Party. No, the problem is y'all run bad campaigns.
Exactly. Terrible campaigns.
And terrible campaigns that are on the base of race are not attracting your voters. They're not. According to articles like this.
Producing.
Left-wing articles, by the way, your people are saying that it's actually hurting campaigns. It's actually hurting the Democratic Party. It's actually saying that you all need to revitalize your platforms and stop trying to pander to us and actually talk about the issues that affect our communities. Because this is why you're going to lose races, and this is why instead of having a true diverse platform that you're all advocating for, you have 4 millionaires, 2 women, and they're all white. And a gay guy.
And all boomers, except the gay guy.
So, help me out here. So, Democrats, is it going to be always about race when you have minority candidates? Or do you minority candidates that want to run for president in future presidential elections really want to talk about the issues? You know, like our minority candidates, you know, like Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, you know, those guys.
Republican and minorities. They made
Yeah,
it
I'll give
farther
you,
than
dude.
these guys.
The first colored president came from the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But he was asked, was race an issue in your campaign? And he said no.
And we presented that here on MM Talk.
Yes, we did.
An actual interview clip of President Obama saying race was not a factor in my election. It was a strong campaign, and it was mobilization of the voters to vote for me for 2008. And
So-
also because, he was running against, McCain.
So, but what does that mean for Latinos? I mean,
So-
what does it mean for Latinos?
Since they're complaining about this, now we have an article that came from, God dang, who is
The
this?
Atlantic.
The Atlantic. Here we go. Sometimes they don't come out. The Atlantic. It says Democrats should be worried about the Latino vote. Political organizers have a warning for the 2020 candidates.
Once again, the Atlantic center-left publication. This is not Fox News. This is not CNN. This is center. Okay, so this is centrist. Yeah, we'll post the articles, but yeah, go
So
ahead.
pretty much it says, let me start. First, it talks about how Trump pandered to the conservative Latino groups in Florida.
Whoa, they're conservative Latinos.
That's a shocker. There's
yeah.
conservative Latinos?
Yeah, I
There's
guess
Latinos
so.
for Trump? How can that be?
I don't know.
How can there be Latinos for Trump, Eddie?
I have no
That's
idea.
not make no sense, Holmes.
Well, it took me 3 years, but hey, I'm here. Go for it.
So, talking about the largest mega church of evangelical Latinos, Trump was there. Okay? And what do the Democrats do? They always sidestep religion and churches until they go to the general election. Because they don't like church. They don't like whatever. We're not going to go into that whole religious aspect of it. But here's the most important portions of this left-wing article, which here in MM Talk, we continue to say and continue to promote. And back in the day, we'll post clips. We literally said Latinos are not a single issue voters anymore. Immigration is not the biggest concern for Latinos. It is part of their voting bloc because it affects a lot of us, right? But it is not, we're not going to vote just because of immigration. We have other concerns too, right? And here it says, candidates struggling to engage Latino voters address issues beyond immigration reform and treat Latinos. So candidates struggling to engage Latino voters must address issues beyond immigration reform. Must address issues beyond immigration reform. MM Talk said that first. And treat Latinos
We're royalties, man.
as the influential voting bloc they are. MM Talk said that. And then it says, why don't Latinos vote or come out in large numbers? Because we're expecting Latinos to be the largest voting bloc in 2020. They're saying that there's not an absence of interest. It's not that they don't care. It's that it's a hunger for options. And here in MM Talk, we keep saying Latinos don't have to be 100% Democrats. Latinos don't have to vote Democrats all the time. Don't have to be used like the article from Cory Booker, used as pawns for the Democratic Party, used for their identity politics,
Right.
just to get power and then forsake the community in the long term.
So,
Right? And then candidates should think of Latino interest beyond immigration as part of their mainstream agenda. Yes, MM Talk, we keep saying Latinos care about education, care about job security, care about retirement, and care about health care. Latinos, we're going to say, but with the food we eat, we have like diabetes. I mean, I'm not trying to put down our raza, but we have a lot of health issues, and it's a big concern in the Latino community.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of documentation now. Education, where our parents always say, go to school. Right? Go to school, learn, don't be dumb, don't be a burro, don't be a boop, Go to school, learn, become better than me. Education is part of it. Yeah. What's another big thing about work? Mijo, work. You're not working, you gotta work. Yeah, sell oranges, do something, work.
Let me read this.
Those are issues that are concerning.
Let me read this in
not
this
just
article
immigration.
right here because this is really good. It said, when several candidates, and this goes back to some of the pandering, right? When several candidates broke into Spanish during those back-to-back performances, this is like the first debate.
Oh, yeah.
When everybody somehow had the Rosetta Stone Spanish handbook with them. They quickly faced criticism from some quarters of Hispandering. I'm taking that term, Hispandering.
The
Others said
Hispandering.
it was an attempt to display cultural competency that they appreciated, right? But perhaps even more concerning for the organizers who spoke with me was how many of those candidates focused exclusively on immigration when speaking about Latinos. Yes, there are Latino citizens but there are citizens who are more comfortable in Spanish. But people are more interested in what kind of candidate you are. What are you planning to do?
Exactly.
I think a lot of times where Latino voters are concerned, they tend to be either taken for granted and or attacked. And so is our biggest fear that we see in a continuation of that. That is absolutely 100% true. Because as they say, when the Hispandering or Lapandering for Latino pandering happens, right? Jorge Ramos, he cannot stop talking about immigration. Somehow, immigration is the iconic subject matter in all political debates, right? We're beyond that. We want more. And Jaime points out, we're hungry. And now there's in the article, I mean, Jaime's going to point something real quick. What are the choices? Because we're tired of seeing it. The movement Lexit that we talked about here keeps talking about that. Right, consider Latinos on Instagram and social media, even ourselves, keep talking about that. That all you want to talk about is immigration. It's not helping out. People in your own caucus are telling you that it's not helping out. You're starting to lose them. And Jaime, what is the consequence of that?
Well, the consequence is Latinos in America are a tremendously diverse group ideologically and culturally. Diverse ideologically and culturally. That means that not all Latinos are liberal. Not all Latinos are conservative.
Right.
There's in between. There's yes on this, no on that. They support that. They don't support that. Latinos are diverse. Just like Latinos, Latino community is so diverse that even within the community, we make clear our diversity. In Mexico, or Mexicans,
Don't call me Mexican, fool.
like
I'm
Mexican,
Chicano.
Mexicans or Chicanos, what are they always? They're always talking about. Oh, I'm from this state, Veracruz. I'm from Sinaloa.
No, yeah, but
so that's the diversity. I mean, if you listen, the diversity within the party, we embrace that, and ideologically, we're diverse and culturally diverse, and that diversity, according to this article, means there's an opening for Republican overtures. What does that mean?
Where did Donald Trump hold his campaign?
Donald Trump opened his campaign in Florida with Latinos. So they're you could say pandering in some extent, but he's reached out to Latinos.
But he's reaching out to Latinos. I don't see the pandering, right? He talks about immigration, but in the sense of national security and why do we need security in our borders, right? But it's not about race. It's like, this is not about race. It's about securing the borders. But where did he have it? The largest Hispanic evangelical congregation. That was in Florida?
Yes.
Yeah, in Florida. Yeah.
Florida. We just said that.
So
Miami.
he's reaching to
He's literally going out
Latino
there.
voters, not on the basis of race, but on the basis of what the needs are for the country. What are the needs for your community? And he said that on every single speech. It's one of the reasons that I also decided to even support the president, because it's not about, immigration, you're being racist, you're being held down, all this. No, he said, what are the needs for your community? What are the needs for your household? You want more money in your pocket?
Yes, he did say Latinos come, when he first campaigned, he trashed Mexicans. I get it. Yes, he said that. Right? He said that.
And that was later proven by what? What's
That
the
was
crime rate
false.
in Mexico? What's the crime rate in Mexico? What's the drug rate in Mexico? And all that? No, I'm just saying. Like he said, there's a lot of crime coming from Mexico.
And what do you see in Mexican news all the time?
All the crime and all that. So I'm saying, y'all get mad at the president
For telling the truth.
For telling the truth, and it's because it's coming from a gringo that you think it's racist. No, dude, we've had those discussions. I don't know how many times I have to repeat the whole discussion at the table thing. We've had those discussions.
So George Lopez, we're calling out you.
Here
your
we
hatred
go.
against Trump. You're
Mr.
justified. You're justified to do it. Go for it. It's free speech. You can support whoever you want. Go for it. But if you love Mexico so much and you're so proud of being Chicano or Mexican, why didn't you leave the country like you said you would?
Yeah.
You said you could leave the country.
Well, except the bounty on the president's head.
Trump would become president, and you're still here, sir. It must not be that bad for you, huh?
No. Well.
Anyways, so in conclusion, by this article, it says Trump is on track to capture up to 30% of Latino voters
Ouch!
in 2020.
Ouch! One more time! One more time! Hammy, one more time!
Capture up to 30% of Latino voters in 2020. A growing support since 2016, and a growing support when 32% of Latinos voted for Republicans in 2018.
And this is in the Atlantic, a center-left publication?
And Univision, Telemundo, and the media don't talk about why Latinos are voting for Trump. And the only reason that they explain this, or they try to explain this phenomenon to them, is that they're brainwashed, they're dumb, they're racist against their own race.
So let me get this straight. By polling numbers and all that, Republicans need about 20% to get the black vote.
Yes.
And that's growing too. Mm-hmm. And he's about to get the Latino vote.
Which looks like it's going to be 30%. Could be up to 32% given the 2018 election.
And you wonder why they want open borders and all free health care and all that nonsense.
Dude, they're pandering more to illegal immigrants than they are to
constituents.
legal immigrants. To people who came
They're
in
just
the
the
country
constituents.
who are residents. Yeah, the constituents. They're offering... In California, we're giving illegal immigrants health care before our own citizens.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. But Democrats, you have been warned. You have been warned. Don't come crying later. You have been warned. Stop pandering. My advice to you is start talking on the issues. Stop the racial nonsense, okay? CNN, rich minorities telling minorities that racism is holding them back in America is ridiculous, okay? I'm talking to you, Don Lemon, all right? You are a rich black man, and you're telling poor black folk that racism is hindering their ability to become rich in America. Okay. Anywho, Democrats, stop pandering. Hey, there was and even real quick, wasn't there? Remember that clip from that we posted on Remember Talk, in the Daily Show when one of the reporters had all the Democrats and they were like, "Who are you gonna vote for?" Like Sanders, Warren, and the one African American's like, Trump 2020. He's like, yeah, he doesn't pander to me. He talks to me about the issues.
He literally answered the question that Democrats are confused about. Like, they don't want to admit, Democrats don't want to admit that Donald Trump, whether he's lying, whether he's just BSing his way through like a good businessman, whatever you call it, he at least is talking about the issues that affect minorities, that affect black, Latino, Asian, that affects even white people. It's not just a white versus black issue, it's an issue of all Americans.
Yeah,
right? So this confusion by Democrats and liberals about like, I'm confused, why would you vote for that guy? It's because you're not listening.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so
thank you for tuning in today at MM Talk. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to add something before we go?
No, just always, please don't forget to
follow
our pages,
share,
tell your friends, subscribe,
thumbs up, subscribe, and tell your family and friends that MM Talk is here to give you a transparent, non-biased, or try to give you the truth as much as we can about what's really going on and what the media is not telling you. And remember, we are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
And remember, we're tired of it.